Hey, welcome once again, everyone, to a brand new edition of Rapid Fire Sports. We are in different locations here today, and you see Mr. SAKOSITS just to my left, and we are ready to go. You're busy with a lot of interviews these days, talking to prospective athletes and baseball players that potentially, since you can't go see them in person, you get a chance to do it this way.
Yeah, I've been on Zoom. I'm pretty proficient in Zoom now. I do these at least twice a day for my own recruiting, and then we have the mandatory staff ones that we have to do as well too with the department and all the kumbaya and all the stuff that you have to do to keep everyone together and not getting cabin fever, which we already have anyway. So it's no question on that part of it. But yeah, no, I think this is a good way, and selfishly, I don't have to see you in person anymore, so I'm actually pleased by that.
Well, this isn't going to last forever, so just remember, I will be back. So
I don't know, man. You never know what you hear right now. We might be stuck in our houses for 18 months till they get a cure, and then even if they don't get one, who knows? I mean, we're just going to go belly up here probably soon. So.
Well, I hope not. Tell you what,
yeah,
I'm ready
here.
to get going again.
Let's
go.
Hey,
the NFL. I'm sorry?
I was going to say, we got some sports to talk about. Let's go.
Well, we'll get to the NFL draft in a couple of moments. That's tonight, and I know you're excited about your Raiders. I'm excited about my Dolphins. We both have a lot of picks and anticipating a lot of good things. But before we do that, some wrestling news to talk about. I did watch wrestling last night. Still kind of weird watching it when there's nobody in the crowd. But talk a little bit about the most recent news that's going on in wrestling, and, of course, the XFL folding and shutting its doors and declaring bankruptcy and all that. What's happening right there?
Well, first off, I'm glad you're actually giving me a segment for wrestling, because last time we spoke together, you weren't going to give me anything. So I appreciate you starting with that. But there's a lot of dominoes that have fallen here recently, Troy. And can I play a little game of let's go back in time? Sure. Let's go start with what's going on with the XFL. The XFL had to file bankruptcy. I was as surprised as you were. I think it was. I mean, they were paying their players. While they weren't playing. But I thought that there was at least a fan interest in that part. I don't know what their expectations were, especially when they ceased operations. I don't know why you had to shut the whole thing down. And maybe they'll come back at some point. Side note: I don't know if you noticed that Oliver Luck is now suing Vince McMahon for this because of breach of contract. But that's a different thing. But when the XFL had to go file for bankruptcy, then it hit home with the WWE. And the WWE recently released over 24-plus wrestlers from their roster because of this. Some of the big names like Kurt Angle, Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Rusev, the good brothers in Gallows and Anderson, who were most recently in that Undertaker AJ Styles match at WrestleMania. It was really surprising to see that, but I guess it shows that no one is safe, no matter what you have bankroll-wise. A lot of the wrestlers that were released were prominent TV personalities in the past, but since they weren't live for a while, they weren't on TV very often. Now as well, too, most recently, the governor of Florida has now made the WWE an essential personnel, basically. So they're allowed to film live in Florida because the governor in Florida states that it's important for the economy of Florida and for everyday human life to be able to have something going on. And so they've allowed that. I know some of the wrestlers are not happy with that being where they don't feel they're safe. And I think maybe you could look at some of those wrestlers that maybe were released were some of those that were maybe making a stink about having to go and perform live at times. But it's really sad where we're at with that. So it's just a lot of stuff's been going on. They still are filming live WWE. WWE was live last night for NXT. You had Raw and SmackDown. The previous two episodes were live, and SmackDown this Friday will be live. And then AEW, which I still believe is a better brand right now, has been on some pre-taping. But at some point, they're going to run out of film in the can that they're going to have to go to. So it's a really interesting time in wrestling right now. But I think most importantly now, as we look at it, and it's going to tie into the NFL, is how do you see Rob Gronkowski taking that 24/7 championship with him to Tampa Bay? And is it going to be after he gets sacked where another NFL player is going to lie on him for 3 seconds and then acquire the belt? Do you see that happening? Do you see a correlation between WWE and NFL?
I'm still surprised he has the championship. I thought the last time we talked that would be a short-term thing.
Well, here's the thing. I kind of think that this was made to happen a while ago. When before the WrestleMania was moved to the Performance Center, it was supposed to be held in Tampa, and it was going to be held in Tampa Bay. And I could see where that could have been something working together because Tom Brady has been linked to Tampa for a while now before he signed there. And maybe it was something where the WWE was going to make an announcement and hiring or signing Gronk at that point, with him then going to Tampa and being part of the WWE is only good pub for the WWE as well too. So there could have been something in the works earlier than this that maybe didn't get to happen because of WrestleMania being moved inside.
No big surprise, though, that Gronkowski signs with Tampa Bay. I saw the report last night and earlier today. His comments were that he needed time for his body to heal. And certainly the wrestling, I'm sure, was a lot of fun for him, too. But he seems like he might be a little more invigorated and getting his career going again.
Yeah, the thing that, his weight is about 250, I think, right now, and his playing weight was about 265, so he's a little slimmer than he's been before. And if you've actually seen him on TV, he looks extremely slim. Now, you put pads on, it's going to thicken you up. I do think he's done a good thing to put himself in shape, so he's going to be in good shape there. It's just about how physical he can be. What are you going to get with Rob Gronkowski after a year off? I don't know. They like to use him in the red zone anyway. I will tell you right now that the Bucs are going to have some opportunities here to make themselves better, obviously with getting Brady, and then what they can do in the draft as well too. But it's gonna be interesting to see. I do think that this was something that was in the works in a while. I don't think he would have came back if Tom was going to go back to New England. But again, maybe Tom was in conversation saying, "Hey, wait until I see this thing out and come follow me somewhere else, and let's go get one more ring."
Yeah, and certainly I don't know if they're the favorites now, but they got to be with that receiving core and what they're able to do, putting this all together. You would think Tampa Bay would be one of the favorites in the NFC next year.
Yeah, and to say they had to give up a fourth round pick, I think a fourth and a six or a fourth and a seven to New England, you would think if Rob Gronkowski hadn't taken the time off to get that type of player for that little, and especially a player who he's entertaining. He's not an Antonio Brown where you've got the off the field baggage. Gronk is going to party, and you know that, but there's never been a question about Gronk's work ethic. There's never been a question about Gronk coming on Sundays and ready to play. Gronk does a lot of his stuff in the offseason, and so I think that only giving up a fourth to get him a fourth and a six, fourth and a seven, whatever it was, is well worth it to pick up quite possibly the greatest tight end that the sport has ever seen.
NFL draft is tonight, and as I said a little bit ago, I know you're looking forward to it. That's right. I know you're excited about your Raiders. You're decked out. You got some kind of Raiders party, a draft party going on?
Well, so I don't know if you know, too, and to help local businesses, B-Dubs has buy one, get one boneless, so I've ordered myself 15, so I'm actually getting 30 of those bad boys. So, yeah, it's going to be a Raider day here today for you, Troy.
I have a feeling I might be doing that myself. All right, let's, if you don't mind, for a moment, let's step away from your Raiders and talk about those top, just for a second, those top 5 picks. Are you anticipating, and have you read anything today that makes you believe that one of those top 5 teams are going to make a deal and trade out and look to get maybe a quarterback? Have you heard anything today?
The big thing I'm hearing is Detroit, and it sounds like Detroit and Miami are in talks of doing some certain things here. I listened to NFL Network this morning on the radio, and they had Nick Saban on there, and kind of going back to you being a Dolphins fan and Saban talking about how he basically blames the doctors and what that would have looked like if Drew Brees would have been on the Dolphins. You would have had Saban and Brees in Miami, and you would have had Belichick and Brady in New England, and how the whole realm of football would have looked differently. So I really think the Dolphin fan, and nothing against Justin Herbert, nothing against him. A healthy Tua is the best quarterback in this draft. Joe Burrow had a great season. You know my thoughts on Joe Burrow. It was one great season. You look at Tua, and Tua is the number 1 pick if healthy. I don't see Miami having an opportunity to let him slip out of the way. I think Miami needs to do whatever they can to make sure that they're going to be able to get their guy if that's what they want to do there. But the only thing I'm really seeing is I think Detroit's going to be active to try to get something going here. And so I think they're able to move back a little bit and see what else they can get there. But that's really the big things I'm in here right now.
Still, though, was talk this week about Tua and we talked about this before, that his health is still kind of a question mark. He says it's not. His agent says it's not. Then you read a report this week that they're talking about him at some point having to have some hip surgery, yada, yada. I mean, there's so much of that going around. I guess the Dolphins, if they're going to pick him, or who else might take him before the Dolphins, they're going to have to trust that the medical experts are right and he's healthy.
Let me ask you this, Troy. If, God forbid, there is no football in 2020, 2021, for some reason the whole thing gets shut down, and Nostradamus is able to tell you that that's going to happen, and you can have a full year of Tua not having to play, not having someone else play there out there instead of him, and that happens, would that change your thoughts? Would you want to take Tua if there's no season to be played, no one's going to get hurt, he's not going to get out there early, he's got a full – and now it'll be a year and a half to rehab. Would that change your thoughts on how you would do this draft?
I'd take him. Yeah. If I knew that were the case, I would make sure that he'd be my guy.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing you have to look at. I mean, the guy is one of the – I mean, when you look at – they talk about Trevor Lawrence for next year, but before everybody was talking about Trevor Lawrence, they were talking about you need to do whatever you can to basically tank so you can get Tua. And Tua has an injury. It's a very serious injury. Yes, we don't know the magnitude of how bad it's going to be. I just can't see Miami taking the chance again to let the doctors say we can't take the best available player and do the same thing where you go with Dante Culpepper instead of going Drew Brees, or you go Justin Herbert instead of going Tua, when knowing that it's your choice to get Tua. I don't think the fans of the Dolphins would say, you know, we've got Tua, we took Tua, and we should have taken Herbert. I think that there's more thought that Tua can get healthy more so than you're positive Herbert's going to be better than Tua in his career.
Saw a report today, too. They think maybe Herbert might be a little bit overrated. So, and Mike's like your thought process on number one, if they decide to go with the Bengals there as far as their number one pick and Joe Burrow, because I know you mentioned he's kind of a one-hit wonder, and a lot of people think that too. But Herbert's got kind of that label now that he might be an overrated type player.
Yeah, and remind me again, why did Herbert not decide to come out this past year? What did he think that his stock was going to be any better coming out last year or waiting another year before going out? Because I remember Herbert was supposed to be the best quarterback in last year's draft. Why? Yeah. I mean, what else are you working for if you already know that? I mean, it's great to want to come back and compete again, but now he's lost himself millions and millions of dollars by just going back his senior year or playing the last year.
Only thing, I think he's got some bad advice. Whoever, I mean, generally – talk to any coach, they'll tell the guy, listen, you need to go now. This is about as high a stock as you're going to get, but I have no idea why he decided to go back. It turned out to be a huge mistake.
Yeah, it's just a shame to see that. Now, he's going to make a lot of money still. We'll both be very jealous of the amount of money he's going to make there, but, you know, you would think that if he's that number one overall pick, which he's not going to be, no matter what it is this year, he's not going to be the number one pick, how much that lost him in total financial gain.
You know, we're still kind of waiting to see what baseball's going to do. And I know you and I are both just kind of thinking, man, is this ever going to happen? There's been so much discussion on whether they're going to shorten the season. Are they going to play it in Arizona? Are they going to do this? They're going to head you. Is there any more word now? Are we going to get this thing underway? I know most of the players have said they don't want to separate from their families, so that's not going to happen. Are we going to see baseball at all?
Well, I mean, you're hearing different conversations in all sports. I think Chris Paul came out yesterday, and Chris Paul said it's not going to be the owner's decision when we come back and play. It's going to be the player's decision. We're the ones who are out there playing. We're going to decide when we're ready to come out and play. For you know, the MLB, I just, you know, it goes a couple of, you can't get New York. New York is nowhere to be able to. They can't field a team. There's no way either New York in the Bronx, which is one of the worst hit areas in the country, or even going to Queens, can say that we can host a Major League Baseball game. So no matter what, there's no games we played in New York, and there shouldn't be. Can you go to a neutral site in, you know, Arizona, some warmer climates? I don't know how we're going to do that. And it's not like you can just go and say, today we're going to play because we're ready. You've got to get spring training ready. I just don't know, as sad as it is, how they're going to make this work. And honestly, they're really quiet. You know, you would think that they'd have to be a little more vocal. I know that the president has spoken out a little bit about we need to get sports back. We need this. And if, you know, phase one for most states, other than Oklahoma, who's going phase one right now, are going May 1, you know, they've got to see this thing through a little bit. I think there could be a way it could done. You could definitely test every player and every umpire and everybody involved before they're able to enter a camp. They would have to be tested. It's going on in South Korea, I think, right now, that they're playing there with umpires are wearing masks and those types of things. So other countries are doing it. It's just a matter of, you know, we as a country sometimes either jump the gun too quick or we could be too slow on this as well too. They need to make sure to do it right. You can't have this thing open up and say you're going to make it happen and then you have an outbreak. But I'm hopeful something happens soon. I think I saw something with the NHL yesterday. The NHL is looking at different regions where they're going to host games instead of having it just, instead of Arizona where all the baseball teams are at, they're going to have different regions around the country for the NHL. And, some will play in this arena, some will play in this arena and multiple teams there. But who knows, dude? I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's just, it is. I'm hopeful that, we are going to be smart about this. I do think we need to, as you would probably agree, we need to open up some of what we can open up, but we got to be smart about how we do it. We can't go backwards. I think that the plan they're trying to put out in front there where you'd have to see negative numbers for a certain amount of time before you can open certain things up is good. I'm a little surprised in some areas, and I don't mean to get political at all, but we're opening up hair salons and nail salons and all those kind of things. And to me, those should be your last things opening up because then you're having true one-on-one contact with somebody with that part of it. But we've got to be able to figure out how we can do this safely and how we can get back to some semblance, if it's everybody's wearing masks or something, to be able to get out there. And even if we can't be involved in going to the games, how can we get sports back out there that we can have something else to talk about, watch, which is only going to help in the sanity of people staying home. Right now, we're looking at over a month and a half plus, I think, in some cases, of people just still being in their house and not leaving their house. Yeah. The mental health of people is something that I think that we don't do enough talking about, how we can get people the right help that they need and talking to the right people. But at some point, we're going to need to make sure we do something to help people out.
Before I let you go today, the Red Sox and the Major League Baseball decision on Cora, I know I can tell you're not happy about it already. Was it enough, or did they just slap him on the wrist?
Well, Cora had already been let go by the Red Sox.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
So, and I also think the timing of this it couldn't have been better for Red Sox Nation, just for the fact that there's a lot of other things going on right now that this is not a big story. If this had happened and came out around the same time the Astros had their situation, I think that there would have been a lot worse penalties. Someone did say today on Twitter, I did see that if it was as bad as it was supposed to have been, then the penalties would still have been bad. I mean, the Red Sox went out and fired Cora. I think they made Renicky the full-time coach anyway now, so I think he's the full-time guy. You don't really know exactly. I haven't seen the report exactly what came out that they did compared to what the Astros did in 17. I do think the draft pick one draft pick is only slapping the wrist. I think there should be more. But I'm also biased. I absolutely hate the Red Sox. I hate everything that they represent. I think that they're the bane of my existence, and truly was really hoping, fingers crossed, that Rob Manfred was just going to say, we're going to wipe ourselves clean of the Red Sox and get rid of them.
Send them to AAA?
Yeah, just get rid of them. Yeah, it should be like that. It should be like where if you're not if the SAKOSITS household does not like you, you drop down to a minor league affiliation. So. Yeah,
remind me the next time over at your house to wear a lot of Red Sox stuff, okay?
Yeah, if they would have brought the Pawtucket team up, I would have been more happy if the Pawtucket team came up and the Red Sox of Boston go back down. But, it's interesting. I think it's a very light penalty, but again, it could be a lot less than what the Astros did. I do think that we have a good upper management scheme in Major League Baseball. I am a fan of Rob Manfred. I think he's done a great to continue off the things Bud Selig tried to do and Rob Manfred has done. He's really grown the game. And I think that's in a sport that has been very stale for a long time. Rob Manfred has done a good job of doing that part of it, of making the game seem new.
All right, last thing. Who do the Raiders take first round? Is it still going to be?
Well, I don't know, man. You tell me. Did you hear the rumor that Jerry Jeudy got a 9 on the Wonderlic?
Yeah.
And does that matter as a receiver, really? I don't know, but, I mean, it's here's the thing. If they take CeeDee Lamb or they take Jerry Jeudy, I'll be okay. If they take the Riggs guy, who is the typical Raider pick, he runs real fast. He's a fast guy. They're worried he's going to be the next Tariq Hill, and if we let him go, I don't want him. Yeah. I want CeeDee Lamb. I want Jerry Jeudy, my first pick. And then the 19th pick, go get a defensive player or trade it. There's a rumor that the Raiders are in talks with the Jaguars right now for Njoku, whatever that guy's name is that had all those bad things to say about the Jaguars over there.
Right.
So as long as we get a receiver, I don't care what they do with the second pick. We need a front end receiver, but guess what? Before we get a receiver, we need to play some damn football. So we need to make sure the season's going to be played. Otherwise, I'm wearing this gear and getting emotional for no reason.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, if it helps you, when the draft comes around tonight, Dan Marino had a terrible testing too, so don't worry about that. That Wonderlic.
Do you have a 9 though? It doesn't. I mean, I've never heard. Is 9 like the lowest you can? Do you get your 9 for writing your name? What do you get?
Yeah, it's literally you can barely spell your name, I think. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't say much about the Alabama education over there, the Crimson Tide, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to actually do a little tweeting with you. I don't know if you're going to go live tweeting tonight. You should do that. Maybe get some instant reactions on picks. See what you end up doing. Especially with what your Dolphins do. I'll make sure I make fun of you when they decide that they're going to go and bring back Ryan Leaf or something. Go make a trade for that guy and get him out of retirement.
Hey, there are some days I wouldn't be surprised what they would do. So,
no, I mean, hey, a rumor has you got Chad Pennington actually working out right now in Miami. So, yeah, no, I think this is good, man. I love that I got a chance to do this with you again, and let's see what the Vegas Raiders do in their first draft.
All right, man. Hey, be good. We'll talk to you again soon. We'll let people know when we'll be back on again, okay?
All right, Troy. Good to see you, man. Stay healthy.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.